Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Facebook and YouTube Live. My name is Kathy Fromme. I'm an educator with SVP, Singer, Viking, and FOF. And today I'm representing Husqvarna Viking. And our topic today is special techniques hoop and a lot more. So I'm going to be talking about our brand new hoop available for our Designer Epic 3. So exciting. We have a special hoop exclusively for that machine. However, please don't leave if you don't have an Epic 3. I want to share with you some other wonderful things that we can do with the techniques used in the specialty hoop. So we're going to be talking about bobbin work today and a little bit more about felting today. Now, a while ago, probably at least 2 years, I'm thinking, I did do an entire hour live with felting. So I'm not going to go in as much depth. We're going to find the link for that older live and put it into our chat at some point, perhaps after our event today. But we're going to talk about Specialty Bobbin Case, and we're going to talk about felting and our new Specialty Techniques hoop. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and get you a different camera view that's a little more exciting about what we're going to be seeing. There we go. All right. So please, in the chat, if you have any questions, just type those questions in the chat. Amy is in the background today with me, helping out. She will feed me any questions. And also share where you're from. We'd love to read about where our viewers are from. If you happen to have done something cool with a specialty bobbin case or felting or this new hoop, feel free to share that as well. So let's get started. And I'm going to come over to my other camera here and show you the specialty bobbin case. We're going to start with that first off. In my background, let me move this a little bit here. In my background, this is one of the designs that is in the Designer Epic 3, my pretty little yellow and orange flowers. The orange and yellow are traditional embroidery. So my fabric is hooped right side up, and I've done just some regular embroidery. However, the stems and the leaves are done with a heavier thread utilizing the Specialty Bobbin Case. Now, we've had the Specialty Bobbin Case around for a long time, like a really long time. And there are multiple part numbers for that bobbin case because it's going to depend upon which machine you're working with. This packaging is for my older machines, my non-Epic machines. My Epic packaging is across the room, and I forgot to grab that real quick, but I have the proper bobbin case to show you as well. The difference in the kits is indeed just the bobbin case. So on your right, I'm going to point it out with my little screwdriver. This is the bobbin case for the group 5, 6, and 7 machines. It's more gray in color. And on your left, the one with the bobbin in it, it's a white color. This is for the Epic style machine. Okay. Now, bobbin work is not limited to just embroidery. It's also available in sewing. So let's talk about the bobbin case, what makes it special, and what kind of thread we can use in that bobbin case. So both bobbin cases have a larger slot in the back. I know it's a little hard to see. Let me hold my palm up. But there's a large flat opening at the back. That's where our thread passes through. Okay. Now, you will want to invest in some empty bobbins. If you don't have an excess of empty bobbins, you might want a few. And you can fill your bobbins with this specialty thread. What threads can you use? Well, you can use a variety of threads. I have quite a few different 8-weight and 12-weight threads that are designed more for surface embellishment, such as bobbin work. Sometimes they're sold more for sergers, like for a decorative serger thread, a heavy thread that you might put in your loopers to create a beautiful 2 or 3 thread, nice wide edging with a heavy thread. Just a quick reminder, thread sizes. How do thread sizes work? You know, in embroidery, we talk a lot about 40 weight rayon or polyester for on top for our embroidery, but we talk about 60 weight thread in our bobbin. That's always a lighter weight thread. So as the number gets higher, the diameter of the thread gets finer and thinner. As we go down, it gets heavier. So the threads I have here today in my little box, a lot of these are 8 weight or 12 weight. I've got some metallic thread. I've got some, this one still has its wrapper on, so it's very shiny. Let me grab my spool. Here we go. These I've already opened. The light aqua one on your left is just a shiny rayon without any metallic in it. And then my darker aqua and my peach do have a little bit of sparkle in it. I love that, just a little bit of metallic, but I did not find them difficult to use at all. Now, many of our dealers do carry some specialty threads. Again, I'd suggest you look in the serger area for some decorative threads. But you might not find something like that, but you could possibly find something like a embroidery thread. This is a pearl crown rayon or a pearl cotton thread. This one is a DMC brand. They come on little spools, or they come in the twisted skeins, because I can't hold everything at once. The twisted skeins, if you're going to use these, you'll have to take the labels off, and then this is one big like loop of thread. So you're going to fill your bobbin. I actually find it easier to wind this into its own ball and then fill my bobbin when I work with this type of thread. You can also use a very fine yarn. I struggled to find a finer yarn though right now. Most of the yarn available to me is heavier. Not something I would really want to put on my bobbin. Okay, so talking about bobbins, how would we fill the bobbin? You can actually use your bobbin winder on your machine and fill the bobbin. I would not use your start and stop button. I would instead use the foot control, and I would set my speed very, very low. Our Husqvarna Viking bobbins have the large hole in it, so I would thread the end of my thread into that hole, place it on my bobbin winder as normal, and I can put my spool of thread on the spool pin and send it through the guides. I usually bypass the tension, the extra tension clip. I'll show you my machine in just a minute. When we come back over to my machine, I'll show you about this to be a little more specific. It's not going to take a lot of thread, but it will be plenty to do the designs. I've done several designs and haven't run out of thread yet. I wound an extra bobbin just in case. If you are not comfortable putting the bobbin through your guides on your machine, you can of course hand wind a bobbin. You know, we used to do this many years ago before we had computerized embroidery machines. We could do bobbin work. I can remember my grandmother showing me how to do bobbin work with a simple X stitch and a simple straight stitch on a really, to me it was very vintage even then. Didn't have a lot of stitches, but she taught me how to do bobbin work. We used this kind of, she called it darning cotton. We use this type of thread, and we hand wound the bobbins. If you're going to hand wind your bobbin, wind them in a clockwise direction. Okay, that way it'll come off properly in your machine. All right, so along with the special bobbin case in your machine, in your kit will come with a small screwdriver. This allows you to adjust the tension. On my white bobbin case, I've already have this adjusted perfectly for this weight of thread for my machine. So I'm going to show you on my gray bobbin case that I would just put my screwdriver in the little slot here and turn it right to tighten it or left to loosen it. Same principle for any screw. And I want to feel just the slightest bit of resistance on the thread as I pull it out. So let me grab a bobbin here. Now, again, this is my older bobbin case, so my bobbins don't fit in it very well because this is an epic bobbin that I have here. But I would put that thread in the slot and then try to pull on it. And it's actually too tight the way I have this one set up. So I can't show you that. However, if you are using a bulky thread, try to hold this for you so you can see, you would bypass the traditional metal tension and just put it through the bypass channel in the back. You are going to have to experiment. That's why they give you a screwdriver, and it's not your regular bobbin case. This one is designed to be tweaked to make it work. Okay. All right, Amy, so far, any questions?
Yes, there is a question about using a specialty bobbin case. And I think, I'm not entirely sure what they're asking here, but I think they're asking if you can use yarn couching on top of your regular embroidery stitches to get the same effect.
Oh,
Flipping it, I'm thinking that is what they're asking.
okay.
But they also may want to see what it looks like when you are doing the actual bobbin case demo. But I think that's what it looks like. They're asking about yarn couching. Would that work, have a similar effect, is I think what they're asking.
Well, that's a really interesting idea, because we do have a yarn couching foot set, and we do have embroideries that are designed specifically for yarn couching that do give surface texture to it. So if the question is, could you combine yarn couching with traditional embroidery? You could, but you would not need a hoop that turns over because it's all done on one side. So if that did not clarify the question for our viewer, maybe after I demo the hoop process, we can refine your question and get you an answer, okay? What else, Amy? Anything?
That's the only question I see so far.
All right. All right. So we're going to head over to the machine next. All right. And I told Amy before we got started that I'm kind of taking you in a different process as far as sequencing. But I promise you, if you stay to the end, if you can't stay, I get it. But please come back and watch the recording to get everything. It will make sense at the end. I just needed to have things prepped to be able to show you everything in our limited time. All right, at my machine, what you are seeing is an embroidery that is started, that is a bobbin work embroidery. So I'm going to get the machine ready now to take the bobbin case. This is the newer. Whoops, there we go. I'm going to reach over here. I'm sorry, I'll be in your way for just a minute while I release that hoop. And I will indeed show you how to hoop for this hoop. This is a different type of hoop. It has two clips, one on each side. Here's the other one. And it can be turned over, which is what we're going to do next. I have completed side A in this case. This particular design starts with side A. Not every design starts on side A. I'll show you how you know what to do when you need to do it. But this design is side A. I've completed side A, which is 2 colors of thread, of rayon 40 weight, traditional, everyday, regular thread. And that's what I have my machine set up for. I have the Q foot on. I have the regular plate. I'm sorry, I have the regular bobbin thread in. I'm going to go ahead and remove my regular bobbin thread and put in the bobbin case. So let me just bring everything over here to screen so I can show you. I need to be a little, how's that view, Amy? Are we looking okay?
That looks pretty clear to me. I think people should be able to see pretty well.
Okay, so I have my needle plate on. And I'm going to use my special tool to just remove that needle plate real quick. So I have on a single hole needle plate. That's my preferred plate for these techniques. Take out my bobbin holder. This is my traditional bobbin case. I'm going to put that up there for safety, and then replace it with my my specialty bobbin case for my epic. Okay, so I have that in, and replace my bobbin holder, and then replace my single hole plate. And I'm going to pop that down in place. Now I'm ready to put in my bobbin. So again, crown side facing up, I'm going to drop that in, just bring it around into my tension. Like I said, I do have that one preset for this size thread, so I'm going to leave everything as is. I'm going to turn my hand wheel 1 revolution toward me so I can pull this thick thread up through my plate and my foot. Let me show you right here. I have this thick thread is coming up through the plate and up through my foot. Okay, that's important. It's although we have automatic thread pickup, when you're working with a heavy thread like this, we want to start with the thread up over the plate. Okay. Now at my machine screen, we're just going to turn you a little bit so you can see this. Maybe we'll just rotate everything. There we go. So you can see that I have an instruction here to flip the hoop. And so it's telling me to prepare your machine for bobbin work, attach the sensor Q foot. I already have the sensor Q foot ready to go. And it's giving me a picture of my specialty bobbin case. So I'm going to say, okay. And my hoop moved into position. I'm going to come back over to the machine so you can see the machine in just a minute. But on screen here, get you a little better view. I'm on side 2, which is B, so it's labeled. I have 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3. That's because I have 3 spots in which I can put the heavier thread, the bobbin case thread in. So that gives me a chance if I wanted to change out the colors, I could. I really don't plan to. I'll just do one to show you today. It also gives me the symbol off to the right for that specialty bobbin case right here. Okay. Alrighty. So we're going to come back. I'll just rotate you out. Let me back you up a bit so you can see that. There we go. I'm going to attach side B. And again, the hoops are labeled A and B. And you cannot fake the machine out. It doesn't let you be wrong. If I put side A on, it knows. So just got to get that in there, snap that in place. It's actually much easier than that. It's just hard when you're not actually in front of your machine. So as you know, the education team, when we do videos, we're kind of off to the side and everything. Now I have my top thread, that's above, but I still want to bring up that my specialty bobbin thread. So I'm turning my hand wheel again, kind of pushing down a little bit on my fabric, and I'm going to try to pop up that heavy thread. I know my hand is in the way, but there's really no other way for me to do that, for you to see. Sometimes it takes me 2 turns to do this. There we go. You can feel that pop up. I'll just take the tip of my little stylus here and pull that bobbin, that specialty thread up and over. So I have both threads here. What I love about using this hoop for this technique is it has gone in and reset everything I need in my machine. For instance, when you start a new thread color, if you have your thread cutter on, it'll take a few stitches to cut that thread, right? Well, this time I'm going to start up. It's going to tack down my threads. I'm just lightly holding these threads. And in a minute, my screen is going to pop up with a message to cut and remove the thread tail. So it has tacked those thread tails down for me, and I can keep sewing. I didn't have to do anything with that. It's just going to make those setting changes accordingly because I'm using the Specialty Techniques hoop. Now, if I was doing a traditional hoop, like a bobbin work design that's not designed for our new turnable hoop, then I would have to go in and make that change at my machine. So I would turn off my thread cutters, but with this hoop, it doesn't need me to do it. It does it automatically. So that's a fun thing. While we let that run for a moment, I'm just going to check in with Amy to see if we have any other new questions or any clarifications.
We do have a tip and a couple of questions. So
Okay.
Our friend Benny mentioned that he has been using his specialty bobbin case with Tech 70 thread when he's doing bags.
Oh, okay, great.
Get those thicker threads through there. So I know we've got probably a lot of bag makers in our audience here. So that's a handy tip for you all who make bags. And I know I'm one of them. And I said, thank you, Benny. That's actually a fantastic tip. So
that is great. Yes. Any heavy thread can really add dimension to your projects.
That's awesome. Somebody wanted to know, what stabilizer do you suggest using when you're doing these types of embroideries?
So I have done a couple different stabilizers. The design on my shirt, this side of me, I actually have a cutaway in here, just a lightweight cutaway, and worked just fine. The poppies, these flowers here, this has a tearaway, just a lightweight tearaway. And my project that's running right now in the hoop has a lightweight tearaway in it as well. I don't really want to over-stabilize if it's not necessary. I found that the lighter end of the tearaways works fine as the lighter end of the cutaways. So far, for all of my projects have been perfectly fine.
Somebody also wants to know if you have to slow down the machine when you're using this hoop, or if it's also doing that for you.
You know what, Amy, that is such a great question. The very first one I did, I was a little nervous, so I set my speed really low. And then I'm like, Kathy, really? All these years you've been embroidering, the machine automatically does slow down for you. So I set my machine to full speed, and it takes care of it. It does slow it down. My machine is set for full speed right now. I just checked it, and it's pretty slow. Again, when you're working with specialty threads, often the needle and the bobbin need a little more time to form a proper stitch. And that's why it's better to slow down your sewing or slow down your embroidery. But with our machines, that process is automated. I just absolutely love it that, the machine takes care of it for us. We don't have to think as hard.
And that's always a good thing for someone.
I know, it really is.
Somebody would like to know, and I'm not sure if you'll have this answer, but
Okay.
do you know if the ability to create designs in the software for the Specialty Technique hoops is coming or not? Do you know if it's going to be available?
So yes, in preparation for this live, I did reach out to some people to find out more about if our software will be able to create in the future. And I got an affirmative answer that yes, it is in the works, but no one was able to give me a timeline on when that update might be happening. Right now, I did experiment a little bit. There's just no way to fake out the hoop. I was talking with a couple of my teammates in the education department, and we've all tried to fake out the software, and there is no faking out the software for it right now. However, I did discover if I take one of the built-in designs on the machine, one of the specialty hoop technique, whether it's a felting design or a bobbin work design, and send it from my machine to my Sonnet embroidery software, the hoop that shows up is the specialty technique hoop in the graphic image. But there's no way to select that hoop in the software, if that makes sense. So stay tuned. It's coming. But again, I'm sorry. I have no idea on a timeline on that. I'm just going to say be patient. But we'll be sure to announce it when it's available. Believe me.
And then a clarification on that earlier question about
Sure.
using the bobbin case. I think what they want to know is you can use it. How is it used with other than the Epic 3 so that it shows up on the top without having to re-hoop?
Got it. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about that. Remind me to come back to that if I fail to come back to that. But I'm going to show you how else you can use the specialty bobbin case without this hoop. Okay.
Perfect. And
All
I
right.
think that's all the questions that I see for now. And I can't tell if your machine is still running back there or not, but
It stopped. So I'm at the end of that color change. So I'm taking you back to my machine. There we go. And my machine is telling me I have a new color block. You can kind of see it over here. For time's sake, I'm not going to continue on with that color block because I've got a lot of other things to show you. I can always come back to this design and complete it after we're done. So I'm just going to take scissors and cut that top thread because I do not want to use my automated thread cutter to try to cut that heavier thread. And again, I'll be in your way for just a moment while I use that nice quick release. And I'm just going to gently pull out this hoop and trim that specialty thread. So let me get in a better position to show you. So this is my end of my thread, and I left a nice long tail so you could see how pretty that is up close. Now this thread tail, if you leave a nice long thread tail, you can take a hand. I know that's a 4-letter word for many of us, but take that hand embroidery needle, and an embroidery needle for hand work will have a sharp point to it, but a long oval eye. And I had a package out, but I must have cleaned it up. I'm really embarrassed. My package of needles has to be 30 or 40 years old. It was 49 cents at a store that's not even open anymore called Big Wheel. I don't know if anybody from Ohio knew Big Wheel, but that was the store. Anyway, you take your thread tail, thread it through the eye of the needle, and then poke it down right next to the last stitch there and pull it out the back side. And I just knotted it. If you don't want to send that thread tail to the back, I believe I would probably choose to use some sort of seam sealant, something that dries clear without staining. I'd put a little dab right where the thread tail ends, let it dry completely, and then snip it very close. But on my blouse, which is a similar design, I simply did, I just pushed the tails to the back and tied them off. Worked great. Okay. Now, I want to show you, let me put this hoop someplace safe, how else we can do bobbin work. So I'm just going to rearrange you a little bit and get a foot out. So, Amy, while I'm changing up my machine for sewing, if you've got another question that comes up, just please let me know.
I don't have any right now, but I will butt in if any pop up.
Sounds great. So I'm actually going to leave embroidery right now and just come back to sewing and start new. Wait for my machine to catch up with me. And we slide in a little closer and change up my foot. You know, I don't really get very good stitching with my Q foot when I'm in sewing mode, so I'm going to just take off that.
Somebody wants to know if by seam sealant, do you mean like fray check?
Yes, fray check, fray block, any of those products that are designed for fabrics to, keep them from fraying.
And when you are doing that bobbin work, you are using a regular thread in the top and then just your decorative thread in the bottom, correct?
That is correct. So, okay. So I have just my rayon thread, my 40 weight rayon embroidery thread in my top thread. I kind of yanked on it, so let me make sure I'm really still threaded. Okay, we are. And then I still have in my bobbin case, let me get you a little closer. I still have that same greenish colored thread. Let me show you the spool. This is what I have in my bobbin. So it's what I just embroidered with. So to do a decorative stitch, I want my pretty thread to be on, this is a piece of denim, to be on the right side of the denim or the dark side of the denim. I have to put the right side of the fabric down. So this would be true whether you're doing bobbin work in the machine, in sewing mode, shall we say, or embroidery mode. I think I mentioned at the top of the program that there are several designs. I counted at least 25 designs specifically digitized for bobbin work for embroidery. They've been in there for quite a few years. You would still hoop your fabric upside down. So turn that fabric upside down, place it in your hoop, put your stabilizer on top, and then hoop. Okay. So stabilizer goes on top like so. Okay. Now, some stitches that I found worked really well are stitches that are more open, that aren't, they don't have a lot of satin to them because I need space. This thread is very heavy. You know, it's a 8 weight or a 12 weight. So there needs to be room indeed for the stitch. So I was playing around with stitches and I'm like, well, let's try menu C, which is actually scallops and satins, but there are some more open style designs in here. Came down to the bottom. I really like stitch 39. Okay, so I know you can't see that on screen because I didn't turn my camera over. My apologies. One of these years I'm going to have my own camera person. But I selected stitch number 39. And my machine beeped at me. And I know why it beeped at me. It's because I was using my single hole plate and it will not let me make a mistake. It will not let me choose that stitch and break my needle. So I do need to just come back here, pop off my single hole plate and replace it with my zigzag plate. And just because it's live TV and, you know, things happen when you're on live TV, I'm going to take that bobbin out and put it back in.
Kathy, your camera is in the middle of both of your views there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, basically all you were going to see is my sleeves because I'm working on getting this back on. So, but thank you for the alert. There we go. We should be okay now. Yes, we are. And I'm going to put that bobbin back in, bring it to my tension. And again, manually, one complete revolution turn of the hand wheel will pop that thread up for us. And then replace my bobbin cover. Is everything good, Amy?
Yes, looks good.
Okay. Now my machine, you know, like I said, it's smarter than I am, will let me pick that stitch. I'm going to also, because I have it, I might as well use my projection. So I turn my projection on, and that stitch, let's temporarily move my projection out of the way on my screen for a moment. I'm going to take you back here to my screen. This stitch is 10 millimeters wide. I can't make it any wider. 17.5 in length. I'm actually going to increase that length quite a bit because I've got a thick thread. I want to spread those stitches out. So I bumped it up to 28 as far as the length. I'm going to come back to my projection now and open up my grid setting. And my grid size is set at 10, which is fine because that's the width of my stitch. But I'm going to position that grid so my stitch lands in between two grids. And you'll see what I mean as soon as I take you back to the screen. So let me minimize that and bring you back over here. There we go. So now my stitch pattern, my little grass stitch, is landing in between two grids. The red line is just my stitch guide 1, which I think I want to turn off for you. That's a default that's on when you first turn on your projection. There we go. We don't need any more lines. So I can see where that's centered. This would be important if I was trying to put this design on the edge of something, or position it properly. I'm just using a piece of denim to practice, to show you. I am going to touch my tie-off stitch first before I start, so I can get a little tie-off going. I could take the time to pop up that thread like I did for embroidery, which I would do on a real project. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to engage needle down, and then this one I get to control my own speed. So I'm going to slow this down a little bit and just touch my start stop and let that go. That's painfully slow. So let me bring it up a little bit. There we go. Again, decorative stitches are controlled in our machine as well, as far as speed goes. So, there is some safety measure in that. You let this run just a couple patterns.
Kathy,
yes.
Somebody's wondering, what size needle are you using for these techniques?
So I have a 75, no, I have an 80 embroidery in my machine right now, because I'm not putting that heavy thread through the needle. I'm just have rayon, my regular embroidery rayon thread in my needle. So, I can use a needle appropriate for my fabric. Denim, I might have switched to a 90, but I think so far an 80 has been fine. But that's a great question. I did finish a stitch repeat. I just touched the X on my machine, on the head of my machine, to stop it. I'm not going to cut it, remember, because this is a heavy thread. So I'm going to raise my needle up and raise my foot up and just gently pull to the back. Whenever you sew, you pull to the back. That's just the way you should sew. That keeps your threads in alignment. And there we go. We have some very pretty sparkly stitches. Let me try to get a better camera angle for you. There we go. Now, again, I would tuck these tails in. I just leave a nice long thread tail and pop that down below. Tie it off on the right side. Here's a little sampler I did earlier. I really like this stitch here, which is like a bar stitch. It just has a straight line running across. It's a little bit heavier, but I did like that. I tried one of our bigger omni motion stitches, one of the loop stitches. That's nice as well. And something as simple as a scallop stitch. So again, this is using the Specialty Bobbin Case in sewing mode. So you don't need to have, you don't even have to have a machine that does embroidery. You just need the Specialty Bobbin Case and the threads to work with it, and be willing to experiment a little bit with those stitches. So everyone can use the Specialty Bobbin Case. If you have a group 5, 6, or 7 machine, it's one number. If you have the group 8, 9 machine, it's another number. So you just need the proper one to go with your bobbin size. That's how it's matched. Okay. So that is Specialty Bobbin Case. Sewing, traditional embroidery. There's a tip sheet out on our MySewNet Studio, which is a great place to get not only projects, but education tips on feet and techniques. And in that tip sheet, it recommended just looking for embroideries that are more open designs, not with heavy dense stitching, and experiment with your Specialty Bobbin Case on that type of embroidery. Amy, something I got to thinking, of course, I thought of this last night, so no time to make it happen yet, but I'm going to. I want to experiment with our Spiral Wizard in our MySewNet embroidery software, because if you keep that Spiro relatively open and increase the stitch length a little bit in the software, I think I could get some really neat designs using these fun threads in embroidery. What do you think about that, Amy?
As soon as you said Spyro design, I went, oh, yes. So yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that you could hold up those two samples in this view? So it's a little lighter here.
So here's the greenish aqua one I just did, and here's the peach that there. How's that?
Yes, that's nice and clear. I think everyone can see that pretty well now.
And here's another tip. When you do a little swatch to test it, take an ink pen and write on the back side of it what numbers and what things you did, so that you know when you go to do your actual project. Because you might test out a bunch of them and like, oh, what setting did I use? Because I did use two different settings. I used a much larger setting for the green than I did the peach on the same stitch, just to see what I like better. Okay. Alrighty. So that is Specialty Bobbin Case. Again, 3 ways we can use it. Sewing on basically any machine that you can put that Specialty Bobbin Case in your machine. Regular embroidery can be done. You just hoop your fabric upside down. Stabilizer's still on the wrong side, but your stabilizer is going to face you. Okay. So, and then our new special techniques hoop. We're going to learn more about that next. And I'm going to show you, before I switch over to my other view, I'm going to grab my other hoop here and show you a felting design. Okay. So this is the Specialty Technique hoop. It has 2 clips on it. Here's the other one hiding here. So there you can see what it looks like. So this hoop is reversible in that it's, top and bottom reversible. Okay. And this is a Christmas design. That is a felting design that's built into the machine that utilizes this special techniques hoop, side A and side B. Now, in this case, how the felting stitched is I put my felt right sides down in my hoop, and then I did not have this stabilizer on top. Let me try to rip away a little bit of it. This stabilizer was part 2. See if I can get enough off of here that you can kind of see the felting behind. Well, since there's a lot of extra embroidery on here, you really can't see except for a little peek here of our fiber. So if you have felted embroidery before, you know that there are different types of felting. There is felting that we consider single layer. Now, single layer is a fun type of felting. I call it the distress felting. So on my shirt here, you can see the embroidery design. There's actually no fiber involved. The whiteness of the design is simply because this is a chambray shirt. It's a blue chambray shirt. It looks kind of gray in my view, but it is blue. And by poking the fibers through from the wrong side, this is what you get on the right side. Okay. This technique is especially nice on denim. However, you can also do freestanding felting. Okay. This one here is just fiber and felt. For stabilizer, you do need to hoop something in your hoop. And so this is Aqua Magic. The more fibrous type of water soluble, don't use the film type water soluble. It will just perforate and tear and you won't have a good result. You want the fiber type. So Aqua Magic. This one is actually a double-sided felting design with a little extra piece of stabilizer stuck on it. There we go. So it's felted and then it has some extra stitching to it. This one is done. This one's been a design we've had for a long time. I think I did it on my original Epic. And how you get the color thread in here, because we didn't have the double-sided hoop yet, is you fill your bobbins with the color thread you want to show on the right side of your felting. So everything is still done from the wrong side. So this was in the hoop this way. Did my felting first. Then I had to fill bobbins that matched my top thread and stitch like that. It's a little time consuming. So I'm so glad we now have our special technique hoop. So step one, this one I used fiber. You can use yarn. This is just a wool fiber, an unspun yarn, so to say, and laid it down on the back. It's hiding under my stabilizer right here. Laid it down. When it was done, I trimmed the extra off, and then I turned the hoop over, slid a piece of tearaway stabilizer under my hoop to support the rest of the embroideries, and then followed, put in the regular bobbin, so my 60 weight embroidery thread, and continued to embroider till it was done. Okay, so works very similar to bobbin work, just different equipment. So let's switch. Let me switch cameras and take you. There we go. Take you back over here to our supplies for felting. Any questions while I get this organized, Amy?
Maybe you want to mention to everybody the difference between the bobbin cases for which machines. So like the use one, and machines before that, just a little bit more clarification for everybody. I've answered some questions in the chat, but it would be good to have it all out there again.
Okay, so yes, there are two different part numbers for the specialty bobbin case. One is for machines groups 5, 6, and 7, which is the package I have here. Okay, and there's another package for group 8 and 9, which are your epic. The difference is the size of the bobbin case and what size bobbin you can put in it. So I had my smaller one and I tried to put my epic bobbin in, and that didn't work out so well because I have two. I have one for each machine. So Amy, I think we could probably add those part numbers maybe to the chat for the two machines.
After the live has ended, I will go ahead and add all of the part numbers into the description, both on YouTube and on Facebook, so it doesn't get lost in the chat. I'll add it all at the top.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Okay, so we're going to switch over and talk about felting just a little bit. Let me get some of this other stuff out of our vision. And again, like our specialty bobbin case, there are two felting kits as well, one for each machine. The difference is the cover plate. If you have a machine that has the 9mm wide stitching, so the Designer Epic 3 has the 9mm wide, as does the Designer Epic 2, then this plate is slightly different than the other one. That's the only difference. But the felting kit comes with, it shows you on the back of the packaging that it comes with they call it a felting foot. It really is more of like a finger guard, a felting bobbin, and a cover plate, and then felting needles and a spare screw. That's to hold the foot on place. So the first thing you do, and I just dropped mine out of reach, is you change your needle. And so our needles for felting don't accept thread. They are barbed. And I don't know that we can really see this up close. Let me try putting some felt. So there's no eye for the needle, or for the thread rather. It's just a short little needle that's extremely sharp and barbed. Think about going fishing and getting, caught with a fish hook. Not very nice. So you get 5 needles in this green packaging for felting. this little bobbin replacement does replace your bobbin. So you take out your bobbin and put this in its place. The purpose of this, it's just a little cup. You don't put anything in it. It just takes the place. It will make your machine think that there's a full bobbin in the machine, so it doesn't set off your bobbin sensor. You certainly don't want your low bobbin sensor going off all the time. And then this cover plate snaps on to cover your feed dogs, and it just has a little single hole to prevent extra fiber from going down into your machine, because this is a linty process. After I was finished with my tree, I had a lot of lint down in the machine. Now, I also recommend, and your directions even tell you, to make sure you clean your machine out after you do a felting project, because there's going to be fiber in there that wasn't there before. Okay, so those are the components of the felting case. And like I said at the beginning of our program, about 2 years ago or so, I did do a Facebook Live specifically on just felting, just regular felting at your machine. So we're going to look that up and find that, and we'll add a link to it as well.
Kathy, I did actually link that. It should be at the top of the chat on both YouTube and Facebook, the link to that live event.
Oh, Amy, you are so good to us.
I try.
I really appreciate that. All right. So I'm not going to really cover the felting process too much, because I think it's important to show you on the Designer Epic 3 all about this hoop and how it works. So let me put that away for safety. And we're going to come back at the machine and move that over. Sorry, sometimes there's some behind the scenes things that have to happen. Okay, so we are at the Joy of Sewing Advisor. I got there simply on my home screen at the bottom. I touch JoyOS, and I'm going to choose embroidery, because this is an embroidery process. Right off the top, by the way, if you want to see the design booklet, you can scan this QR code to see your design booklet. And it does get updated. I noticed there was some updates to it a few weeks ago when I last pulled it up. A couple designs in there that were added. And all of these specialty hoop designs, felting and bobbin work, are in that book now. All right, I'm going to slide across my topics to specialty hoop embroidery. And I know we're running close on time, but I think we'll have enough time to cover this. This is all of the specialty hoops that we make for our machines. We have the mega turnable hoop, the free arm hoop, the endless hoop with a corner design, two different situations for the free arm hoop. And then we have our felting and our bobbin work designs with our special technique hoops. So in this category, it's all kinds of specialty hoops we have. I'm going to choose felting, and it's asking me, do I want to clear my ongoing work? I'm saying yes. I can always come back to my my design I was stitching. I'm going to make this as large as I can, because there's a lot of information here. Right. And our first tab has all of our instructions. We can scroll up to read everything we need to, go step by step. You're familiar with this. This JoyOS works like our prior JoyOS, but kind of on steroids, with more graphics, more pictures, more information. Tells you everything you need, even how to attach your embroidery unit, selecting a design and stitching out. It gives you all kinds of tips as we work through it. Okay. For hooping your fabric, did you know you can make those little pictures bigger? You just tap on them and it fills it with full screen. It shows your A side is visible here. This on the right is our B side. So fabric is up, right side facing us, with stabilizer underneath it. Okay. And let me close that picture. and continue through. Shows you how to hoop, talks about how to tighten your fabric within this hoop. So make sure you check out those directions as well, all the way through the whole process. I think the best thing about using the Joy of Sewing Advisor, however, is the content tab. And when you are using one of the specialty hoop for the machine, whether it's the specialty technique hoops or one or the other, do use the content tab. It'll save you a lot of time because this is a filter. It has sorted every felting design that is digitized to be used with the special technique hoop that's in the machine. I'm going to bring up our tree, and it says a special technique hoop is loaded. Make sure that the selected hoop supports the technique before entering stitch out. So I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to minimize my instructions here with the minimize bar. I can recall that anytime by going up to the top of the screen and choosing the little book. The person reading the book, that brings my information right back up. So minimize the bar in the middle, and then the book reopens it. This is showing me all of my, this is showing me my design. And Amy, guess what? This didn't do what it usually does for me because I wanted to show that. Okay, guys, there's a little fluke thing that I want to share with you because I want to teach you how to work around it. So we're going to make it happen for you on screen. Let's see here. So it's all about how the design loads. Because I've been using this hoop, it loaded just fine for me. So I want to do it as you might see it. I don't want you frustrated, so I want to show you how it might load. So I'm just going to pick a design. We'll pick my flower design that I did before. Load it to the screen. Minimize. All right, so my design did not load in the center of the screen. Do you see that? It's up here at the top. And there's actually two sections of the design, side A and side B. If I were to try to move this and center it, I'd only be grabbing one part of the design. So go to your layers tab. I love layers. I've had it for a long time. And choose select multiple. Both halves are selected. I don't have to group it or anything. I just have to select them. And then using my arrow in the middle, it'll pop it right in the middle of my screen. Now it is temporarily grouped. So if I wanted to move it, well, let me come back here and reselect and regroup that. Now I can move it around to position it. But it was always very frustrating that I couldn't get them. Every time I loaded it, it loaded separately and it loaded off center. So I wanted to show you using layers to select both halves will let you move them together as one and get them in the right hoop. Okay. All right, Amy, any questions?
I'm just scrolling through here again, but I think you've got everything. And there were a couple of things that were individual that I just answered in the chat. Okay. So I think you are good on questions.
All righty. Well, sometimes questions come up later. You get to thinking about it, or you get your machine out and you're ready to play. If you have a question, we'll try to monitor our comments for the next week or so on this live, and we will do our best to answer them. So let's see. We should have another live coming up. Yes, we do. We always have something for you guys. I'm excited. Our next live is on May the 21st. Of course, that's a Wednesday at our usual time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. Karen Charles will be joining us, and she's going to show how to combine multiple designs to create complicated looking embroideries by manipulating multiple designs in your hoop. My guess is she's going to be using that layers tool that I just showed you a little bit with this. and some grouping and ungrouping. So you get a little preview with me today. But join Karen for that. And then actually next week, we have a My Sonnet Live. Will be on May the 14th, 3 p.m. And that's with Jenny Lance, our software educator that we all love and admire. She's going to be teaching us how to get the best results from the Point Create tools in your software. So 2 exciting lives next 2 Wednesdays. We hope to see you then. And thank you for watching. Have a great day.